Let's start today's episode.
Period Besties, welcome back. We're so excited for Lauren to be here today. Lauren, I would love to jump in and ask you, because in our practices, we've noticed undereating is really one of the number one contributors to period problems. We would love to hear your take on this because we talk about this all the time. So tell us what you notice as well.
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with both of you. And I'm so glad you brought up this question because, yes, I can absolutely relate on both a personal and professional level. And I actually wrote an entire chapter about this in my cookbook. It's called The Hormone Healthy Eats Philosophy. Yes, a number of reasons. Let's break it down. But before that, I want to set the scene and talk a little bit about why we're so infatuated with undereating. And when we look at all these diets, weight loss trends, fasting programs, exercise programs, and we look at all these touted benefits, right? But what we're not looking at is who the research is done on that are experiencing these benefits to begin with. And most of the time it's men. Sometimes it's postmenopausal women, but there are really two reasons for this. And one is gender bias. And then the other one is cycling women are more difficult to include in studies because we've got our fluctuating hormonal levels to account for. So it's easier to do a study on a man with one biological circadian rhythm where their hormones are static every day. Women were not even included in clinical research and trials until 1993 when there was a law passed mandating it. So we have a long ways to go to make up for it. And we're just now beginning. And so when we look at what the research on us menstruating women actually does show is that we need an average of about 2,600 calories per day to sustain our basal metabolic rate and orchestrate ovulation and a healthy menstrual cycle. And I don't know about you, but that was vastly different from what I believed growing up. I was a child of the 90s. I went to college in the, yes, my favorite decade, went to college in the early 2000s. It was big into calorie counting. And I was aiming for 1,200 calories per day. That's what I thought the norm was and what I should be at to be quote unquote healthy, but really to be thin. And so when we look at undereating, that's defined as a caloric intake of less than 1,500 calories per day. And when women start to do that, it's shown that within a couple of months, our estrogen and progesterone production decreased significantly, which, as you know, we need to sustain healthy menstrual cycle. And then along with that, we have a shortened luteal phase. So that's problematic for a number of reasons, but especially if you're trying to get pregnant, because we need a certain amount of time for that fertilized egg to implant into the uterine lining. So for women who are having difficulties trying to conceive, that's one of the first things to look at is their diet and nourishment and how much they're actually eating. And then falling under the umbrella of that is also skipping meals and fasting. And what I noticed in my practice was that was really common with a lot of my female clients. And they would do it with their partners too, or their husbands, and fast or skip breakfast, like the bulletproof coffee was a really big thing. I did that too for a period of time. But while their partner, would get more fit or feel great or whatever, it would actually backfire on them and it would slow their thyroid function and metabolic rate. It would increase their cortisol production, their stress hormone, and then ultimately turn on their fat storage. So they wouldn't really get the results they were after. And then along with that, they would have a host of symptoms in their luteal phase, like PMS and cramping and headaches and period pain. And that would be intensified because of that. And then furthermore, not just undereating the skipping meals, but then looking also at omitting food groups. So then there was a study done on women that were on a raw vegan food diet, and 30% of them had amenorrhea, so the loss of their period, because they didn't have enough micronutrients from food and animal protein to sustain their menstrual cycle. And then there was another study done on women, and all of them had hypothalamic amenorrhea and the loss of the period. And all of them had low levels of IGF-1, so insulin growth factor 1. And you obtain that from animal protein. And it's really important for rebuilding and repairing tissue. bone growth and reproductive function. So they weren't able to sustain their menstrual cycle because of that. And then there was another study done on 18,000 women. And those that had the lowest saturated fat intake, so less than 10%, actually had the most increased risk of ovulatory infertility. So taking all that into account and what we do know on the research done in the last few decades is vastly different from what we grew up being told or experiencing. And I think we have to look at like what the goal is. Yes, you can probably lose weight for a period of time and hit weight loss goals. But if the goal is to feel better, have more energy, have a symptom-free cycle, get pregnant, increase your longevity, then you need to be including an abundance of nutrient-dense foods to support your menstrual cycle and your hormone health.
Nodding along because we couldn't agree more. And I think
Yeah.
staggering 2,600 versus what so many women come to us saying, I've been eating 12 to 1,300 calories, like I can't lose weight. And I'm like, you're not eating enough.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really difficult because I mean, it goes against everything we've been taught. So it's really like a mindset shift first and foremost. But then when you start making those changes, then the physical changes start happening. And then it's pretty difficult to ignore.
And the other thing too that I'm curious your take on, because we've been talking a little bit about this, but everybody, it feels like, and I know not everybody is, but on some sort of Ozempic, different things like that, right? And
Yeah.
it seems like we're going back to the 90s where
Yeah.
we all were, right? And this really shifted how,
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know for Stash and I how we felt in our 20s, our 30s, and we spent a lot of time in our late 20s, 30s, really taking care of our bodies so we could help ourselves during perimenopause. But
Right.
it does make us nervous. Like, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on all of this and how it affects hormones?
I am not an expert in Ozempic and I do not know nearly enough about it. I still need to just do my due diligence and research. But yeah, it does seem really counterintuitive, again, especially because it's suppressing your appetite ultimately. So you're eating a lot less. And so, yes, you're losing some fat, but you're also, some of it's water weight. And then a lot of it is bone density. And we know that's so important, especially as we age, not only for your metabolism, but like so that you don't fall down the stairs and break a hip later when you're older. So if you're looking at longevity and wanting to live a longer, healthy life, that seems really counterintuitive. I don't know exactly. Jury's still out. And I hear mixed things. Like I hear how great it can be for blood sugar and for women with PCOS. And so I don't want to just completely knock it because I just don't know what I don't know. But yeah, in terms of the under eating portion of it, I think it seems really problematic, especially as we enter perimenopause when we need to be focusing on bone health and strength more than ever.
Yeah, it's the under eating that we were mostly concerned about because we know there's always pros and cons to everything, but
Mhm.
people that I know that are on it like aren't eating
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
makes them feel sick, which is
Yeah. Which
worrisome.
is sad.
Yeah, I know.
Feels so good.
I really like the point you brought up about perimenopause. And it's something that Katie and I talk with our clients about, what you are doing in your 40s, setting yourself up for perimenopause and into menopause dictates the next 30 plus years of your life, right? So
Totally.
we really wanted to hear your thoughts on building your nutrition for perimenopause. Like, what age do
Yeah.
you recommend people start? Like, this is it. We got to start building for perimenopause. And what are some of your suggestions for eating nutritious foods to help carry you through the next half of your life?
Yeah. Well, I love this question because I'm 41. So it's definitely looming on the horizon for me and something I think about professionally as well as personally pretty often. But when we look at what's happening during perimenopause, ultimately our ovaries are producing less and less estrogen and progesterone, which we know is responsible for orchestrating our menstrual cycle. So it's less quantities. There can be a lot of swings here and there, especially with estrogen, which can cause symptoms, but ultimately it's less until it halts at menopause. And then our adrenals will take over and a little bit during this time. And our adrenals will actually put out little bits of estrogen and progesterone to help mitigate and offset symptoms. But when we look at what else our adrenal glands are responsible for, it is stress. Our adrenal glands are pumping out stress hormone cortisol. So if we have spent decades of our life dealing with chronic stress, and one of the biggest things we can do to stress our body is undereat and not eat enough and skip meals and have dysregulated blood sugar and then have our adrenal glands constantly pumping out cortisol to help offset that, then we are entering into perimenopause in this super depleted state and we have nothing to draw from with our adrenals at all. I think it is normal to experience some symptoms because especially when we look at what estrogen and progesterone do in our body, there's like nothing it doesn't touch, like no function or feeling from our weight to our mood to our heart health to our bone density to our sleep. Like it's everything. So I think, yes, of course, we're going to feel some shifts. Like, how could we not? But what I see is the intensity at which these symptoms are incurring. Like they're detrimental to women's lives. Like it's completely just ruining their lives and how they feel. And I think part of that reason is due to that we're entering into this depleted state, not only undernourished, but yeah, that we've spent years, maybe developing other hormonal imbalances or conditions. And then we're going into this shift already in that state. I think one of the best things you can do to help through that phase and beyond and set yourself up for a healthy life is to focus on nourishment, nourishing your body with an abundance of nutrient dense foods and help it feel safe. That's one of the best things you can do to help it feel safe, help it tap into its parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, not your sympathetic fight or flight mode. So you are entering into it robust. And so honestly, I think the sooner you start, the better. You don't have to be specifically thinking of perimenopause, but I think specifically thinking, reframing it as how can I support my hormones? How can I nourish myself? How can I reduce stress and the effects of stress to really like increase my longevity over time?
I like that. And just
Yeah.
thinking, I feel like nourishment and longevity sounds so much better than calorie counting and all the other
Totally.
things, right?
Yep.
You're so right about going into it emotionally regulated in terms of cortisol. I feel like
Yeah.
is probably one of the biggest challenges we all are facing is the cortisol, the stress, right?
Yeah.
There's no way to avoid it.
Yep.
I'm undernourishing your body causes more stress. Can you talk a little bit more about that for everybody? Because I want to like say this louder.
Yes.
Been
Shout it
listening.
from the rooftops.
Yeah.
In my practice, I break it down into a two-pronged approach. And one is reducing stress, and then the other is building your stress resistance. So taking away the things that you can do to reduce stress, whether internal or external. And one of those key things internally is to eat regularly, right? And that's another important thing. Like, and I'm not telling you to be on a set schedule, but if you start getting in the habit of eating meals around the same time each day, like consistently breakfast around this time, lunch around this time, dinner around this time, that really tells your body and helps it feel safe. Like, I know I'm going to get fed at this time. Like, I don't need to go into fight or flight mode, survival mode. So, like, doing little practices like that to help reduce stress internally as well as externally. So, external could be like not looking on at the news or social media or like overpacking your calendar. So, just looking at little ways that you can tweak that in your lifestyle and then building stress resilience. So then what are things I can add in that are long term also going to help offset the effects of stress? Because we know we're going to encounter stress no matter what, especially in today's world and being women and being moms and everything going on in the world. It's like, it's a lot right now. It's inevitable. So then adding back in things that we know are going to help offset those effects, like certain nutrients that are really good for fighting stress, like vitamin C, and is really good at fighting off free radicals in the body. And so just looking at ways that we can build that, or maybe going for a walk every day, like habits that are going to help regulate your nervous system and offset the effects of stress. So yeah, I think that's one of the pillars in my practice and pillars that I think to optimal hormone health. Like there's no way to avoid it if you want optimal hormones in a menstrual cycle.
Yeah. How did you get into this menstrual work in the first place?
Yes. So I actually, back in 2013, I was feeling terrible physically and mentally. I was very into my calorie counting stage. And so I was basically only eating processed foods that told me the calorie portion and the fat portion and everything. So like lean cuisines and Luna bars, those are staples for years, low calorie. So not a lot of real food at all, ever. I never cooked. And I was feeling pretty awful. I was like, consider myself the poster child for PMS. Like I had all the symptoms. I had the most painful periods, like such bad cramps. I always had to take Midol. I would break out. I would have headaches. My sleep was terrible. I had anxiety, very irregular cycles. I never knew when they were coming. Poor digestion, like you name it, I was going through it. And so my mom was worried about me and she gave me this book. And funny enough, it was actually a vegan book. So that's kind of how it started. Obviously, not vegan today. But the good thing about it was that it was talking about eating real whole food. And I was in my like very much all or nothing mentality. So I read this book. I'm like, I'm doing this. And so overnight, I like went to the store, I stocked up on all the stuff to make green smoothies. And I started cooking at home. I had no idea how to cook. I had to ask my roommate how to boil water to make pasta. Like I literally did not even know how to boil water. So hopefully that's inspiration for anybody that I can't cook or I don't want to make these meals or whatnot. Like if I can do it, you can do it. So I obviously started feeling better because I went from eating these chemicals and preservatives and not real food to real whole foods. But the other really cool thing that happened was I discovered a whole new creative outlet and that I actually really enjoyed cooking and that I'd always loved food. My mom was a really good cook. So I just like, I loved food growing up and loved to eat, but didn't cook. And so that was so fun for me to be able to be creative and make things that tasted good and that also helped you feel good too. So that's led me to starting my recipe blog, So Fresh and So Green. So like that Outcast song, So Fresh and So Clean, but so fresh and so green. And then that led me on this whole wellness journey. So then eventually I went back to school to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and studied nutrition and health coaching. And then after that, in 2016, I opened up my practice and I started coaching women, a few men, but mostly women. And what I was noticing was that so many of them were experiencing symptoms that I knew were related to hormone health, but I just like didn't feel equipped with the tools to help them. So then I got really interested in hormone health. And then I went back to school to become accredited in hormone health. And that was life changing for me. That was like a light bulb moment because even being in nutrition, being in health coaching, being in the wellness industry, being a woman, I had no idea. I did not know about ovulation. I didn't know about my menstrual cycle, none of it. I didn't know what made a regular cycle. I didn't know that my symptoms were actually common, but not normal. So I just started slowly implementing these shifts like to my own diet and lifestyle. And then like gradually all of my symptoms diminished over time. And I helped my clients, all their symptoms gradually diminish over time. And it's just helped me feel so much better and impacted my life in the most beautiful way. And so I just really want that for every woman because it is completely life changing information. So that is what led me into this work that I'm doing today.
That's so funny. I love it. Had a very similar trial, except I started period coaching school because I was like, there is a massive gap in the
Oh
health
my God.
coaching world, and we need
Yeah.
certification for people who want to specifically work in period problems, menstrual cycles. And yeah, I lost count of how many people told me I didn't even know ovulation was a thing. So
I
I was like,
know.
okay, we need a period coaching school specifically
Yes.
about this. And I
Mhm.
sat down, I was like, I could do like 8 years of content. How am I gotta squeeze
Oh
this
my
down into like
gosh.
one, but
Oh my gosh. I know. And for me, that was like before I got pregnant with my first daughter. So I think about not going into like what I had thought, because before that I was tracking my cycle, but it was on an app, and it was only, using the algorithm based on the data that I put in. And it was so off. Like that was not when I was actually ovulating at all. And so it just like that alone in and of itself, I'm like, that could be so life changing to so many women trying to get pregnant. Right. So yes,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
That's amazing. So what's one of your favorite things about working in this field?
Oh my gosh. I think on kind of the same trajectory, how empowering it is for women. I think like knowing this about our bodies and the way our unique biology works and our hormones work, it's just gives us so much agency over our bodies. I think for a lot of time, I personally felt kind of in victim mode. I had no control over what was happening to me. And I know oftentimes women's experiences when they go to see a practitioner is to be told this is normal, just deal with it, or here, go on birth control. So to be able to understand what's going on in your body and the driving mechanisms behind it, and then how to support it, and that it doesn't have to be something drastic or like a hard diet or cleanse or punishment, it can actually be really enjoyable. Yeah, it just allows you to create this really healthy, compassionate, kind relationship with your body. And truly like what women could not benefit from that. So
Definitely. I love food. Stasha loves food. I want to talk more about your development of recipes, but
yeah,
for the phases of the cycle. Walk us through what you kind of
yes.
discovered on your own journey, and then how I'm like, also the side note, because I always ask a question and ask another question.
Oh yeah.
When you were
It's
kind of developing these recipes, did you notice like when you were in ovulation phase, you were making more recipes for that phase? Or like how did you kind of do that? So two questions in this.
yes. Yes. Good questions. So yes, for me, I love food. Always love to eat. Now love to cook. And what I just noticed was we have some wonderful books and resources in this space. For example, like Lisa Vitti's Flow Living, like what an amazing book. And I just saw this opportunity there because we know nutrition is a key pillar of hormone health and that we need to be eating an abundance of these foods to help us optimize our cycle and our hormone health. But easier said than done, right? And with my female clients, that was always the biggest hurdle because there's so much more to take into account. Like food is not just fuel, it's like pleasure and enjoyment. And when you're celebrating and when you're sad, and it's connection and family, and it means so many culture, it means so many different things to different people. And so, what better way to entice people to make those shifts than with a cookbook with beautiful photos, recipes that sound delicious, that you actually want to make, that are easy to make, and that the whole family will enjoy too? Because what woman out there wants to make two separate meals? Not me. So I knew I wanted to do that. I knew for years. And then I also knew I really wanted to organize it around the menstrual cycle, because during our menstrual cycle, like we're going through these four distinct hormonal fluctuations. So there's menstrual phase, follicular phase, ovulatory phase, and luteal phase. And during each fluctuation, these shifts are impacting everything, our brain function, our metabolism, our microbiome, our stress response, our immune system, our reproductive function. So there are important things going on during each shift. And each of those shifts requires certain types of macro and micronutrients to help support your hormone production and synthesization and function through each shift. So that was kind of the concept behind it. And then from there, I looked at each phase and really on a biological level, what's going on and what foods support that. So during your menstrual phase, this is your period, begins day one of your period, and it is a phase of tissue injury at its most basic level and rebuilding tissue because you're shedding your uterine lining and then you're paving the way to restore it. So you're losing a lot of minerals and nutrients with your blood, and you need to be replenishing them. And one of the best ways to do that is through animal protein, which is rich in heme iron, which is the most bioavailable source. And then you want citrus foods with vitamin C. That's going to help with the uptake of iron absorption. You want foods rich in magnesium and calcium and zinc, like seafood and dark chocolate and leafy greens and legumes, things that are really going to help replete and set the stage for the entire rest of your cycle. Also, if you think of it like inner winter, I correlate each phase with a season, which I think really helps people because it can seem like a lot, especially if you're walking into this like not knowing any of this. And then it just feels a lot more intuitive. So, menstrual phase, just like winter, it's a time of rest, restoration, repletion. So, if you think about what you're craving in the winter, like heartier foods, warm foods, slow cooked meats, chilies, stews, things like that. So, there was a lot of that going on in the menstrual phase of the cookbook. And the cookbook has 25 recipes per phase. And what was so cool too, the photographer I worked with, she was brilliant, Eva Kolenko, but she even photographed like the lighting. If you notice in the cookbook, it's different for all the photos. So like the winter lighting is more stark with shadows versus like it softens. So there's, you can tell, you feel like you're in winter and then spring and summer. And so anyway, moving on to the follicular phase, that's your inner spring. So this is a time of growth. So what's happening is your pituitary gland is signaling FSH, which is your follicle stimulating hormone, and that is stimulating the follicles in your ovaries to, or one of your ovaries to mature, and then eventually they'll produce an egg. So just like spring, it's a time of growth and new beginnings. Your estrogen is slowly rising, your testosterone is slowly rising. That's boosting like your confidence and libido. And so it's kind of like you're coming out of hibernation mode and you're preparing for the next phase of your cycle. So when you think about it, it's a lot about like growth and egg maturation. You're helping these follicles mature. So you want to be eating a lot of foods that support that. And one key thing is healthy fats, because those are like the structural building blocks. So like olives, avocado, wild caught fatty fish like salmon and sardines and egg yolks and ghee, some full fat dairy. And then you also want to be eating like a lot of colorful, bright, antioxidant rich foods, because those are going to help fight off any oxidative stress and free radicals that could potentially damage the eggs. So if you think of like the spring farmers market, like what you would see there, lots of carrots and peas and asparagus and beets. Those are all liver supportive foods that help with estrogen metabolism. Estrogen is rising and you want to make sure you're keeping that in check as well. So cruciferous veggies, more salads, more chia pudding with berries, like pesto bowls with spring veggies, avocado toast, things like that. And so you'll see more of that style in the follicular phase of my cookbook, and like less slow cooked, hearty, like more light, bright, a lot of times like quicker meals. Not that slow cook are actually, they're very fast to prep. It's just slow to cook because then they sit in the slow cooker all day. And then from there, we transition into ovulation, which is like peak summer vibes. So you're in your fertile window, an egg has been released and you are potentially fertilizing it to get pregnant if that is the goal. But so you're in your fertile window, it's a time of connection. So you're really craving connection to see and be seen. It's kind of on theme with the follicular phase because again, you're still like, you're protecting the egg, you're keeping the environment healthy for a healthy egg, you're keeping surging estrogen levels in check. So a lot of those like cruciferous veggies, lighter, brighter foods, think of things you would crave in the summer, like more salads and lean protein and veggies and smoothies and crudité and just lighter meals because estrogen suppressing your appetite. It's like getting you in the mood to finding a mate instead of foraging. So appetite is lighter. That doesn't mean you shouldn't not eat, but just you'll see more foods that you would crave during that phase. Because like a slow cooker beef stew in your menstrual phase is probably not going to sound that good when you're ovulating. It's just not going to be what you naturally crave. And then from there, we transition into the last phase, the luteal phase. And this is a gradual shift, just like it is from summer to fall. Like we have that late summer, that fifth season. And that's sort of the first half of your luteal phase. And you're still like riding off the effects of ovulation, still feeling pretty good. But then we sort of gradually get into our fall phase and we're turning inward and we're like really in this phase or stage of completion. Like we want to wrap things up, check things off our to-do list, get them done to prepare for our upcoming winter menstrual phase, which is supposed to be a time of rest. So with this, what's happening hormonally is after we release an egg that turns into our own organ. So what's really cool is that we create our own organ every month, like another organ, which I just think is fascinating. It's called the corpus luteum. So after the egg ruptures, it turns into the corpus luteum, and that starts producing progesterone. So estrogen is dipping, progesterone is rising, and progesterone is continuing on the path of building that cushy endometrium lining in the case that we fertilize an egg so that the egg can implant and we can be pregnant. But what it's also doing is it's stimulating our appetite. It's increasing our metabolic rate anywhere from about 9 to 18%. And then we're required to eat about 200 to 300 additional calories per day. So you don't want to be under eating at all, but especially during this phase. And this is when you tend to notice the most drastic effects because it's easier to destabilize blood sugar. Our cortisol is more sensitive, so it's easier to emit more cortisol if we're skipping a meal. And then along with that, like our mood, if we're not eating enough like complex carbs to support serotonin production, we can see all these mood swings and dips. So all those symptoms associated with PMS, if we're not eating enough and nourishing ourselves during this phase, are going to be tenfold. So it's a really important time to do so. So not only do we want to be eating well, maybe eating a bit more and more heartier, we want to be including complex carbs so you think of the fall foods like sweet potatoes and butternut squash and spaghetti squash and like lentil pasta and cozy oats. It's more of that like cozy, grounding, heartier foods, more complex carbs to help stabilize blood sugar, support mood, a lot of progesterone boosting foods as well, because you want progesterone to be rising. That's also our like cool, calm, relaxing hormone. So it's going to help with mood stabilization as well. So like poultry, red meat, potatoes, bananas, citrus, cottage cheese. So you'll see like all of those elements included in that phase. And then again, we're returning to more like cooked methods like roasted sheet pan harvest fall veggie bowls and like wild grain bowls and stuffed sweet potatoes, spaghetti squash pasta. You'll see more of that in that phase. So it really like every phase correlates to the season. But if you look at it beyond that, it's really supporting what's going on with our biology and what our hormones need at a macro and micro level to support them. So not only is it going to help you naturally support your hormones, but it's really going to reflect what you probably intuitively crave without even knowing it during that phase, which getting into your second point, I tried to do it by what phase I was in, but it was just it was such a time. Oh my gosh. And so I had to do what I had to do in 4 months, 4 to 5 months. And so I was recipe testing multiple recipes every day. So a lot of them were not necessarily fitting into the phase I was in. I wish I could have coordinated it that way. But now that I have all the recipes and I have the cookbook, I just noticed I'm naturally making the recipes based on what phase I'm in and gravitating towards them. And also what season too, because it is winter and it's cold. So even if I'm ovulating, I don't necessarily want like a cold smoothie. So I try and like take into account all that as well. But yeah, that's what
Oh, I
that was
love
the
that.
mouth.
Yeah, that was my last question. You answered it. It was like, how long did it actually take to put this all together? So you were making about 3 recipes a day for that's
Yeah. Yeah. The whole process has taken almost 3 years. I started 20, what is it? So 2023 is when I created my proposal and pitched it to the publishers. And then we had like a verbal deal shortly after that. And then it takes months to do the contract. And then I was pregnant with my third baby during that time. So then I tried to give myself a little bit of maternity leave. And then January of 2024, I started doing the recipe testing. Then we shot the cookbook, the photos that summer and fall. And then it was like finishing up the manuscript And then it went, and then I think the manuscript was finished sometime earlier this year, like close to summer. And then it was like getting it ready for print and everything. And now it's finally releasing. So it's like been a long journey.
Yeah. Three
Yeah.
kids journey.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Like my fourth baby. So
Yeah, no. Everyone that I know, Sasha's written a few books. Everyone I know that's written a book has been like, it was like having a baby. Like the
yeah,
whole pre-conception, like the whole journey.
the full thing, it really is a whole journey. And then, yeah, it's kind of crazy that now it will be here. So now I'm preparing myself for this next phase, which is like really exciting, but also you feel really vulnerable too. I feel like because you're sharing your baby with the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Like, congratulations. It's so hard
Yeah.
Thank
to write
you.
a book and put things together like that. So I know it's been one of my ideas in the back of my head for a long time to do a recipe book as well. Katie's done
Yeah.
one. So, it's just one of those things like you have to have the time and the space and the brain power to put towards it. So well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I know. I'm excited.
Tell everybody where to find the book.
So yeah, it can be found at pretty much any major bookstore. So Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart, like anywhere you would go to go buy a book. So yeah, it's called Hormone Healthy Eats, 100 recipes to help you balance your hormones, support your cycle, and feel your absolute best. So yeah, if you just Google it or go to wherever you want to buy a book, there's a lot of cool more local bookstores that will be carrying it too. So if you're like more a fan of shopping local, should be there as well.
Nice. And where can people go to
Yeah.
find out more about you?
Yes. So I have my Substack, which I'm really enjoying. And I launched earlier last year to be like an extension of the cookbook. So every week I put out a new cycle aligned recipe. And so it goes every month you get menstrual, follicular, ovulatory, luteal, just like in the cookbook. So I wanted to keep the journey going for those that want it. So that's Hormone Healthy Eats on Substack, same as the cookbook. Then I've got my blog, so Fresh In with an N like Nancy, so green. And that's the OG one that I've had forever. It's been upgraded and updated, but you'll find like a lot of the older, like OG classic recipes there. A lot of hormone healthy content too, and stuff about like different hormone imbalances and how to support them. And then I have my Instagram, which is at so fresh and so green. There's like 5 E's in there, but if you put in so fresh, you'll probably find it. So I'm there as well too.
Amazing. I'm so stoked for it. I can't wait to eat all of the food. I love food. I mean, you had Katie at
Oh my gosh.
Bowls as soon as you said the word
Yeah.
she was in.
Will it bowl? Will it taco? I will make it.
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's New Mexico or living in SoCal for so long.
Yeah.
I will taco anything. Breakfast tacos are like
Oh
one of
my
my
gosh.
favorite morning food.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. You probably have some good ones.
Oh yeah,
So yeah.
definitely. I love me a taco.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, so we have a little rapid speed round that we like to do with everyone at the end. It's
Oh
just
my
a few
gosh.
quick,
Okay.
fun questions just to get to know you.
Okay.
So we're gonna kick you off with what's your favorite junk food?
Oh my gosh. It's hard because I probably sound so nerdy. I don't really eat like junk food, but I have a huge sweet tooth. So I have to have dessert like every night after dinner. But a lot of times I make my own because if I'm eating like traditional, I don't feel good. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but definitely a sweet tooth need dessert. So
Love it.
yeah,
What's your favorite TV series?
I have a lot. But last night I just finished Heated Rivalry. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's definitely it's there's a lot going on, but yeah, it's a really good story too. So highly recommend. Yes.
You were the fifth person who's told me that, and my friend just gave me her HBO login, so I'm gonna
Oh my gosh,
log
go
into
do it
it.
today. Text me when you get to the end of episode 5. Tell me it's not one of the best scenes you've ever
Okay,
watched
I
ever.
will.
So
Oh my God, I'm in. What's
do
a
it.
household item you can't live without?
Household item I can't live without. Well, I'm thinking of like kitchen things just because I'm in the kitchen a lot. I guess pots and pans and a blender and a coffee machine. I'm thinking all like food related. So
Do you take
Mm,
naps?
no, I have tried so hard to take naps and I don't, I mean, sometimes if I'm like traveling or in a car, I might be able to for a little bit, but like if I just like sit down, I'm not gonna nap. I wish I could. So,
All right, last one. Your favorite vacation spot?
oh, well, I mean, there are a lot of good ones, but last year for my 40th, we went to Todos Santos in Mexico, and we're going back this next weekend. And I'm really excited for that because it's so beautiful. It's I think, north of Cabo. So it's just less touristy, so beautiful, sunny, and the food scene is insane. And it's not overpriced, overrated. Like you don't have to have reservations. You can just go to all these. I didn't hit all the restaurants on my list when we were there for a week. And that's like a sign, when you're like, oh, wow, there's still so many. And it's a smaller town. So that was like really cool for me because I got all the nature and the beauty and the ocean, but then also the food scene, which I love. So yeah.
I need to check it out. I don't know if I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's on the Baja Peninsula. So I don't know how far a flight would be from you, but what's nice for us is it's just a one way. So it's like a 4 hour flight because otherwise, if we're getting further into Mexico, we have like a layover and stuff. So I'm not sure what it would be for you, but definitely check it out.
Okay, I
Yeah.
will. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved meeting you. Thank you for coming
Yes. Thank you
on.
so much.
Cannot wait to get this cookbook in my hands and
Yes.
make some
I
yummy
can't wait.
recipes.
There, it's right there. I
Oh,
strategically
wow.
placed it.
Yeah, no, it's
It
so
doesn't normally sit
congratulations.
like that, but oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And congratulations on everything you guys are doing too. It's so amazing. So keep putting out the good word.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bresek Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bressak, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebressak.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.